Hello everybody. Today our short block, actually it's actually a long block now, is pretty much getting close to getting done. So the next thing I'm actually going to put on is the headers, which I'm going to do a little bit of work too. All I'm really going to do is kind of gasket match this part, and I'll kind of walk you through that. It's nothing hard. Pretty much you just put the gasket on there, and it's not a bad idea to drop some bolts in there, and then just kind of trace this with a Sharpie, and take your Dremel, and I'll show you kind of how to do that. If you really want to really do your best work, you'll take this apart at this joint and at this joint down here, right there, and then you can actually do this cross pipe and port that out also. I'm not too worried about it. Like I said, we're shooting for 4 1/4, 450, and I've gone equal length headers in the back, and I don't want to do that. I actually want to keep the Subaru rumble on this one. So I'm just basically going to do is I'm going to clean up all the, when you feel this, it's really rough on the inside. And my main goal is to be able to have flow out of the head as good as possible. Honestly, I don't care about some of this other stuff as much. I'm not putting in a ton of time in this, but I'll kind of walk y'all through just how easy it is to do this. And you know, the benefits of this are you're going to get a little bit increased turbo spool, and you're going to get a little bit higher flow. Typically the idea is you lower your exhaust manifold pressure, and what that means is when your piston is compressing to push the spent gas air fuel mixture out, what happens is there's pressure there that builds up in between your turbo and the manifold, in the up pipe, of course. So by opening up this manifold just a little bit, you're actually allowing your motor to breathe a lot easier. So you're spending less energy on your next compression pushing that exhaust out, because your piston, you know, goes down, sucks in air and fuel, compresses it, and fires. And then as another piston is firing, it's pushing this exhaust out. So the easier it is to push that exhaust on out, the more power you're freeing up from your other compression. So that's kind of the theory behind it, and why it's just good to, you know, at least kind of gasket match this stuff. I didn't port these heads, so you know, there's obviously it's not gonna fit this, but what you can do just by gasket matching this, it allows that air to not get kind of tumbled up, and allows more of a clean flow through your header. So that's all we're doing, is we're gonna just kind of open it up a little bit. This is cast iron, so it's real, you know, real easy to polish it. It's not hard to do, and if you really want to mess with it, we may do this side at least. I'm not gonna, I don't know, I go back and forth on how much time I want to spend on this, but yeah, we'll probably take this apart, and I'll show you kind of how much there is a lip in there, and how much you can just open that up and free up some of the flow. Now, we're not going to be able to polish this whole middle tube. I don't have anything that can reach that far, but just by gasket matching all these surfaces and stuff, you will notice a little bit quicker spool, and you can get a little bit more power out of the same amount of boost, rather than just running more boost. The reason you want to get as much power and be as efficient as you can at a lower boost level is it's just one less heat that your turbo's creating that you have to cool off, and it's just your engine's just going to run more efficient. So making more power out of the same amount of energy going in, because you're not spending energy pushing those exhaust gases out. You're not expending as much energy. Now, is it going to be as good as a header, an aftermarket header? No, It never will be. But you know, I don't really feel like dropping. I think the cheapest header that's worth having is the CNT header. They actually do, you know, increase your horsepower, probably 10-15 horsepower on the same boost, but it's also an equal link, so you lose that rumble. And I don't want to do that on this car. I kind of want it to rumble. I don't know. And these headers, I mean, you can run 450 horsepower through them pretty easily. It doesn't really start being a restriction until probably about 425, 450. So we'll do some work on that. And the first thing I'm going to do actually is there's so much carbon buildup. I'm actually going to clean this carbon buildup off so that I can see my marks that I make. So I'll show you guys kind of marking it up. Okay, got this tightened down. So as you can see, like, it can move. There's going to be a little bit of wiggle. You know, it's just kind of how it works. So what you want to do is try to get everything as centered as possible. And you'll notice that there's going to be more on one side than the other. And I'm just going to mark this with the Sharpie, so we have a good idea of where we need to go to. Okay. So, cut it off or not with one hand. Oh, yeah. I'm learning how to be the one-handed mechanic now. Okay, so here's our marks. You can tell there's not much on this bit that we're going to be taking off, but you know, over here there's quite a bit. So next thing you're going to do, you're going to take your Dremel, and I would suggest a carbide bit, and also take that little stupid collar off, because you can actually reach further down in the cavity that way. And we're just going to go along the edges with this. You'll notice I'm starting at kind of a probably a 50-60 degree angle, and then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of round it in, because I'm not going to, you know, completely mill out the whole circle when it gets further down. I can't reach that far, so we're going to kind of mill it out here and then fade it in as we go in. Okay, so here's my first hole. You can see it's taking off quite a bit of material here. I will say, kind of use common sense here. So like on this side, sorry, I'm using my phone to give you light down there. On this side, you know, the air is going to hit and curve on that way, right? So you want this to be a kind of a smooth transition. So if you feel like any indents, you know, try to take those out. And then on this side, what happens is the air goes down and then this way. So I'm not worried about the transition like a curve like here. I'm going to go straight down as I can, because the air is going to go down and you don't want it to hit anything and kick out. So you just want to make as much space as possible, but keep in mind the way that the air is going to move in these things. And you can tell just by feeling how much smoother this one is. Like here's what it is before. Feel all that? You hear all that? Nice and smooth. Not my screwdriver's getting hung up on all this stuff. Nice and smooth. So just that alone is going to help out quite a bit, plus opening up the port a little bit. So got this side done, and now I'm going to look at doing this other side. And then I'll show you all, like this, you're just basically doing a rough cut with this carbide bit, and then we'll go by with like a flat disc, like a 60 grit flat, and just kind of smooth it out, and in case there's any little burrs, but you can usually feel those with your finger. And also there's a pretty prominent casting line in this that you can take out too, but you know, it's not going to be a perfect circle. You want it obviously to be as close as you can get, but you know, just do your best. Marking it off helps a lot. You just go to your lines, and you know, we're adding what, I don't know what that is, but you know, an eighth of an inch to it, which doesn't sound like much, but it helped quite a bit. So plus we're cleaning off all the crap. Keep in mind, you are going to have to, I don't know, shoot water through this or air, compressed air, to get all the metal shavings, because they just fall down and sit there, and you don't want all that crap going into your turbo later. So keep in mind, you're going to have to clean up whatever mess you make. But I'm going to continue on this side with this carbide bit, and before I move to the flat disc. Okay, I went ahead and just finished up flat disking this one. You can see it's a lot nicer than that gritty thing. Just, I mean, difference in that. Air is going to flow so much nicer through this than it will on this side. So we've got our thing. Our gasket is still to the point where there's still a little lip left, as you can see. Now this part's curved down, but you don't want to go past this ring on your gasket, because that's what seals it. So you don't want an exhaust leak. We could take a little bit more off, but I'm probably just going to leave it there. I'm not going to go too crazy on this. So I'm going to do this side now, but you can tell there's a noticeable difference. This is smooth. That is definitely not. So alright, I'm going to keep on trucking. Okay, so here we are. We've got both sides of this have been hollowed out a little bit, wallowed out. See, I still got a little bit of a lip over here that I could probably make better, but we are much improved from this. So, I mean, obviously this hasn't been cleaned up, but gosh, it's just so insane how gross that is. And then also this, I don't know if you can see how much material is here, and what we'll do is we will match the gasket on this and also match it on our up pipe, so that we kind of get the same effect for our up pipe. And then also, if we want, we can take our turbo housing, which I will port and polish my turbo. I always do. I find this kind of stuff soothing to do, so I can spend a lot of time on it, and I don't mind. But this so far, just doing this side, has only taken me, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. So you know, just work at it and take your time. But honestly, anything is going to be better than nothing. And it's off the car, and I've got a Dremel. The one pro tip I will say is when you're using the flat disc like this, give your Dremel a break, because the resistance for the motor that this thing causes will burn up these things like nobody's business. So, you know, when you're done, let it spin on low for a minute. That'll help it clear all the hot air and keep the things from melting to the motor. And then, you know, then you can turn it off. Oh, I got a text message. Anyways, so I'm gonna probably pop this off next, and show you what that looks like. Okay, so we've got this portion of our header off. You can see how much material we really can take off to kind of match this gasket. It's quite a bit, and I'm gonna go as deep as I can doing this. There's still going to be one little corner down here that you just won't be able to get to unless you have a pin attachment for your Dremel, which I have somewhere but have lost it. So I'm gonna clean this off, mark it just like we did the other side over here, and get to work. And I'll show you all what it looks like when it's over, but pretty much this is the exact same process as what we did before, and we're gonna do that for the this cross pipe also. Now you are going to want to get new gaskets for this, but the weird thing about this cross pipe is there's like a pipe inside the flange, so you don't want to go too crazy because this flange is welded on here instead of cast, and you can potentially cause those welds to fail. So you can, there's like a lip where that pipe is, and you want to bevel that down and then smooth out everything you can, and then of course, you know, but the inside of this pipe doesn't actually get as gross because it's actually a steel pipe. It's not that cast iron. So Just something to think about. There's some little ridges and stuff from welding and all that that you can take down, but there's no point to really smoothing this out that much. So we will mainly focus on the other part and do not a whole lot on this, but I'll show you both what it looks like when it's all done on both sides.